student, but let me just go back a moment to say that when I first arrived at Tuskegee, I did not choose to be a part of the movement. I wanted to be a beatnik. And so I was running around Tuskegee trying to be a beatnik. Drinking wine at the local pond, hanging out, quoting poetry, Al Ginsberg. And so I did not have any thought of being in the movement because I had built my life around Virginia Woolf and had built my life around Greenwich Village in my head. And so Tuskegee was just a road, a penance I had to do before I could go to the village. And so that was not in my mind. And so Stokely Carmichael came to campus, and people from Lowndes County came to campus, and they gave a rousing conversation about the importance of participating in the movement. And it was at that moment that I became galvanized, that I became interested in the movement. And so I threw away my Catawba pink, I cut my ponytails, and I began to grow natural hair, and I went down to Lowndes County, Alabama. But that was not until after we had the demonstration, students at Tuskegee, in protest for the beatings that had occurred on the Elmer Pettus Bridge. And we were locked in at the Capitol in Montgomery, surrounded by, you have to understand, this is a new experience, surrounded by men with billy clubs, men on horses, wouldn't let us go to the bathroom. And yes, these are features of segregation, but you have to understand that as students, we had not come up against that because our parents had made the soil so safe. And I don't know how they did it, but they did. So this, what I'm trying to say is that that day shook my life when the horses started charging and those white men started swinging the billy clubs. And I must tell you, I was so naive, I'm almost ashamed to admit this, that I kept looking up in the sky because I had grown up with this notion of God on a mighty chariot delivering God's children. And if you were doing the right thing, then you would be delivered. And I waited and waited and waited, and no chariot and no God. And that day, I lost my Southern Baptist religion and began to contextualize the world beyond theological terms, looking for social and economic terminologies to explain the world. So I would say, and it was in that setting that I saw the power of nonviolence when Annie Pearl Avery, one of the SNCC women, broke through the line to bring us food because no one could bring us food. The police would let no one come in the church. And I saw this little woman. When the police raised his hand to hit her with a billy club, I saw her simply ask him, dead in the eyes, who are you going to hit? What are you going to do with that? And to my astonishment, he dropped it. And she came through the line. By this time, my little Columbus, Georgia mind is blown. And so I was at that moment very committed to moving forward. My homeroom teacher, Mrs. Armstrong, drove 80 miles from Columbus, Georgia, to ask me to leave the church because we had her other students who were in the church to leave. And they left, and I didn't. And she said something like me, I should have known that you wouldn't have left. But that was a defining moment for me where I separated myself out from the approval of older adults about whether I should or should not be in the movement.